Hey everyone, so it's Osama here, and today I have a special guest, and his name is Avery. Avery is the founder of Toastmasters, a multifaceted individual with many different interests, one of which is Stoicism, fitness, and he's been an inspiration to me, just with my experiences with the Toastmasters organization, so welcome him.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Osama.
Absolutely. Why don't you introduce yourself?
You pretty much had the introduction right there. There's not much more to add. Like Osama said, founder of On Tech U Toastmasters. If you haven't heard of the club and you want to improve your public speaking skills, he'll put a link in the description below. I highly recommend it. It was life-changing for me. Like he alluded to probably in other podcasts, life-changing for him. And I know a lot of people that gain a ton of value from joining the club. So go to that link.
Absolutely.
Hit up the club.
Absolutely awesome. And today the topic that Avery and I will be discussing is we both love Stoicism, and that's one thing that we have in common, and figures like Marcus Aurelius or Seneca. And the one work that we want to discuss is called The Shortness of Life, and it's been a life-changing work, just very short and sweet, but very deep, and just those thoughts, feelings, emotions. What are your thoughts on Seneca's Shortness of
Absolutely.
Life?
It's one of my favorite essays that he wrote. And what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the shortness of life?
The shortness of life, to be honest, I just think of a clock or one of those time thingies, those sand, right? The sand's just dropping down one thing at a time, and just old age and death. That's what I think. In terms of Stoicism, how did you get into that? When did you first encounter that field of study?
All I remember was I read a book by Ryan Holiday. I think this is the first one. The Ego is the Enemy.
Oh, I've heard of this.
The Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and he's a huge proponent of Stoicism. So I read some of his works, and he would always talk about Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. And Tim Ferriss, he's also a huge proponent of Stoicism. And he has a few podcast episodes where he just reads some of Seneca's letters, like maybe a few paragraphs or actually one of the full letters, just to give a snippet. He actually has like a whole series on Audible where he reads the Tao of Seneca.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is really cool because there's not a lot of actual audio, I guess, formats out there that you can listen to it. So the first thing that introduced me to Stoicism was Ryan Holiday. It was The Ego is the Enemy, for sure.
Wow, that's incredible. For me, the very first thing was Marcus Aurelius, right? The Emperor of Rome. And what he did in his free time was he just wrote down reflections in his journal. And eventually that became like a work, like that became a published novel, because his reflections were so deep and had so much deeper meaning as to the virtues and of his wisdom of virtues and ethics, right? Of the pursuit of life for a man. And I think Seneca is very similar. So I was actually in Spain this past year, and I visited the country, or the city of birth of
City of birth, wow.
Yeah, where Seneca was born. So he was born in a city called Cordoba, which is a phenomenal, beautiful city if you ever get a chance to visit. And Seneca is an incredible figure in Roman history, right? Because he has so much influence on the West, right? Just from his letter, Shortness of Life, what do you think of this personality?
Seneca's?
Yeah.
He was very upfront. There was no like beating around the bush, so to speak. The thoughts that he put on those pages were very real, and they were very honest and truthful, I think. Like, for example, one of the things that he talks about, he says that there's time wasters that almost distract us from actually pursuing a very fulfilling life and achieving one's goals. And some of the things he talks about was, giving all of our time to others. So like he just flat out says that, but we don't really think about that all the time either. Like, we love interaction with each other, hanging out with friends, that closeness, that connection with people. But if you give all your time to people, your family, your friends, you don't have any time to improve yourself. And that was just one of the time wasters he talked about. Another one is giving into vices. And that's one I think everyone struggles with. It's super difficult to just completely eliminate all vices in your life. There's always going to be ones dangling in front of you that you want to do, like, just, and then you have to fight that inner voice and say, like, no, this is not right for me. I need to choose the correct path instead of deciding to give in to this vice.
Definitely.
So I love some of the details he gets into on the Shortness of Life. It's very, very eye-opening, and it's things that we can implement every single day. Some of the solutions he provides in the essay.
Yeah. And
what are some of the things that you got out of the Shortness of Life?
Man, first of all, I was just fascinated by who that letter was directed to. So that letter was directed to Seneca's father-in-law, right? And like, such a deep, enriched letter. And I agree with you, where he discusses, Seneca, that we openly give away our time as if it's free, and we would never let someone trespass on our home and just take over our home or take over our bank accounts or our money, right? We wouldn't openly give these things away.
Absolutely.
But when we give away time, we don't really always think about it very deeply. And also he dives into the different streams of people, the different types of people. You know, one is just enraged with his political desires, right? Jealousy. One that is, after pursuits, just traveling everywhere across the world and just forgetting about life in a sense, right?
Oh, I remember reading something just about that. It's like you're never content where you are. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but when people say, like, oh, if I go somewhere else, I'll have this new life. I'll have this. Everything will be different around me. But Seneca argues that no matter where you go, if it's not fulfillment on the inside, you're not going to get that difference somewhere else. It's something along those lines. But he argues that you have to deal with your core first. What's inside.
Definitely.
You can't just go somewhere else and think, oh, it's just gonna change. I'm gonna feel something different. I'm gonna be a new person. It may last for a little bit, but is it sustainable?
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people usually do, right? They think, oh, if I wasn't in this job or if I wasn't in this situation, then my life would flip 365, right? And hey, maybe it would, but most likely or not, that may not be the case, right? Like, sometimes the truth is so, or who you are, you need to change that core in order for things around you to kind of settle in, right? I think that goes with fitness as well, right? I think a lot of people think that, oh, if I had that gym membership, or if it wasn't COVID time right now, like this unprecedented time,
of course,
then I might be more fit. What would you say to them?
I mean, it has definitely posed a problem for some people. I understand why some individuals may not want to go to the gym. They find it's a risk. They have families and they want to protect their families, and they don't want to put themselves in an environment where they may be able to catch the virus and pass it on to their beloved ones. So I understand that aspect of it, but I definitely don't believe in excuses at the same time. I think there's things that can be done at home. You can use the outdoors. We live in Canada. It may suck because winter is coming, but you can still utilize your home space. And if you don't have home space to utilize, then talk to a friend. Ask someone if maybe you guys can collaborate, team up, and you can use like a little bit of space in their home.
Just make it work.
Make it work. There's just so many possibilities. It drives me crazy. Like, I don't want to really say this on camera, but I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm gonna put my boss under the water. He always goes, man, because of COVID, I got fat. I'm so fat now. I eat like shit. I'm like, man, like, you don't realize though, like, it's those decisions you're making each and every single day, and they're compounding over time, and that's why you have gained that weight. Because if you would have just said to yourself from day one, or even like 1 week in, I'm not gonna let this affect me. I'm gonna stay committed. I'm gonna stay on track. I'm gonna follow my regimen, follow my nutrition. Sure, if you deviate a little bit here and there because of it, okay. We all make mistakes here and there, but it's important to get back on track and stay committed to your goals. Because there's people that have actually lost weight during quarantine.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend's boss actually lost a ton of weight during quarantine.
Wow.
And it was super inspiring. I was like, good for you. Like some people make the most of the quarantine and others, they've let it affect them to the point where it's driving their decision making.
That's a really good saying. Like some people, like you said, some people that make the best of a situation, right? Whereas some others make the worst of that situation.